Hello and welcome to Seagulls Social, episode 21. I'm your
21.
host, Maz. 21.
So
I am your host, Maz, and I'm joined by my lovely co-hosts, Ben and Ryan. How are we doing, chaps? We all good?
Oh, mate, this is going to be the good podcast. This is going to be a good one. I'm feeling...
We've been waiting for this, so it's going to be good. And of course, we are joined by guest Josh Akers. Now, Josh, just before people were thinking, who's this fraud you've got on? Just give us a bit of an intro as to first of all, how you came to support Leeds, and just a little bit about yourself as well in terms of your professional career and what you do at the moment.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on, guys. Looking forward to this. Not as much as I was about on Saturday. I'm, as you can tell by my very lacking thick West Yorkshire accent, I'm actually from London, and I was given the poison chalice of supporting this club when I was 4 years old. My dad was involved with the club, and he made me mascot when I was 4 years old. So I was there, Leeds Spurs, I think it was, a drab 0-0 in the George Graham era. And since then, I've been, unfortunately supporting this club through lots of downs and very few ups. This summer was one of the very few years where it's actually been an up. So, supported them for a while, was season ticket holder back in League One Championship days, and then now kind of getting to, 9-10 games a season. Most of them in London, obviously, which is great given that we've not won in 18 games in London now. But
what's that mean? Was it the Neil Warnock
last season? That given we got, I think, 90 points and won the league quite comfortably, I went to 7 games and we lost 6 and drew 1. So
you're a curse.
Really quite impressive. The one I thought I'd be a banker was Wigan at home, and we lost 1-0 with our good friend Kiko Casilla letting in a goal straight from a corner.
Didn't they have 10 men as well, Wigan?
Yeah, that was the year before where they did the double over us.
So many lows. So many lows.
Oh, amazing! Just quickly, you mentioned your dad's connection. Like when you were 4, you became mascot. What was it that your dad did within the club?
So he was involved in a group called Caspian, who were owners at the time between 96 and 98. So back then, Leeds were kind of 17th, 16th, and I think by the time he left, they were around 6th or 7th. It was a few years, obviously, before quite famous O'Leary era. Where you're kind of then getting into the Champions League run in 2000, 2001. But it was there, and obviously growing up in London, all my friends were Chelsea, Arsenal, or Man U. There's plenty of Man U down in London, as you know. So, been supporting Leeds, and it's that nice kind of thing when you spot a fellow Leeds fan when you're out and about on those rare occasions, and you're like, oh, you're just as mental as us.
But I was going to say, you mentioned it yourself, but the accent, I think that's why I wanted to clear it up, because if people heard you, they probably wouldn't be thinking Leeds. So it's good that you cleared that up for us. So we appreciate it. And then finally, just before we get onto the good stuff, the beautiful game that happened. Just quickly, just talk us through in terms of your professional career as well, because obviously you are my boss. If anyone didn't know, I did work for Lad Bible. I haven't mentioned it enough times, but you are my boss at Oz Bible. And just talk us through.
Wearing hoodie as well today, Maz.
Yeah, I'm repping.
Getting more points.
I'm repping. Just talk us through what it is you do for Lad, and how you got into it, really.
Yes, so I work at Lad Bible Group with Maz. So I run Odds Bible, which is our sports betting publisher within the group. So I've been there for about 3.5 years now. So my role is kind of very much focused across both content and commercial. So Maz, for example, works on the content side. It's great with all the reactive stuff we do in and around sports events such as football. And
you're making me blush, Josh. You're making me blush, mate. Stop
Too
it.
much praise for Maz. It's like doing his quarterly review. But then across the commercial side, everyone always asks us, Lad Bible, how do you make money? And everyone's like, what is it? Is it just ads? And there's some of that. Obviously, we have ads on our websites and we do branded content. But then also working across kind of big content partnerships is something that I heavily do. So around big sporting events, whether it's the Euros this summer, Cheltenham, or we're doing a lot in the poker scene at the moment, just kind of do that across both areas.
Amazing.
Thanks for sponsoring the episode, Josh, by the way. So today's episode is sponsored by Oz Bible.
Lad Bible Poker Room at GG Poker. Sign up link down below.
50k brand deal with Seagulls Social. Thanks for coming, Josh.
That'd be good.
Yeah, hashtag ad. No. First of all, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. And it's going to be a very interesting pod, we hope, because you and Ryan have actually met before on socials. You're both quite vocal on Twitter, so we're gonna see how this pans out, which I'm very looking forward to. So,
mate, I'm the one smiling at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? So if it went the other way, this could be really awkward.
Table, Ryan, and we're 6 points clear with the game in hand. I would say we are. But we'll come on to that.
Mate, if we were that bad, then you should have been beating us. So
There we go.
We'll come on to that. Pastel stroke tax, but we'll come on to that later.
I love that. Well, look, that was round one. We're gonna have 12 rounds of this, so it's gonna be amazing.
Before we do start,
Maz,
I've got a little surprise. I've sold myself out here, guys. So this one's for the South Africans. I've bought this off Amazon.
Oh, hello.
Oh God, what's this?
He's twerking for the South Africans.
Oh my God, that's unreal.
That's embarrassing. I mean, that's class.
I can get behind Lucas Radaby representing. I'm all over that.
That's a throwback. That's a throwback and a half.
That is brilliant.
Brilliant. Well, I mean, yeah, we'll get on to our South African following. So, before we do that, let's crack on with the game because, we're all excited to talk about that. So, first of all, we'll go round and we'll start with Josh. Just give us a quick sort of 30 second to a minute summary of how you thought the game was in general from a Leeds perspective.
From a Leeds perspective, it was poor. It was really poor. The first 45, I think I said on Twitter, were the worst 45 we've had in the Prem this season. Even when we were 4-0 down against Man U, we at least created chances and looked quite threatening at times.
Here we go.
But yeah, Saturday before. First half, we created absolutely nothing. There was one air shot that Bamford had, but he was offside anyway. Obviously, the defending for the goal will probably come on to shortly. That was shocking. We missed Phillips massively. We played that Pascal Strout there. He's not a CDM. He's a centre-back and an inexperienced one, but not good enough. I know Ryan's not going to agree with me, but it was a game lacking in quality. So both sides had 2 shots on target each. The goal was a good goal, to be fair to Brighton. Really well worked. Huge, massive hole in the middle of midfield. And that was left by Strout getting pulled out by Malpe, I think, who was then there to tap it in at the end. But it was just poor. Second half, then we came into it, had a couple of chances, but not enough to win the game. Harrison had the shot where it fell to him. Bamford had one that Pablo set up, but he missed the header again. There just wasn't enough. And I think most worryingly, Leeds, obviously, as everyone knows, aren't the most solid at the back, to say the least, but they usually are very dangerous, even against Spurs. Without scoring, they create a lot of chances. On Saturday, there was hardly any of that. Neither keeper had a save to make. I think Casilla had one from Webster from about 25, 30 yards. That daisy cutter that he almost threw into his net, which would have been quite fun. Yeah. And then your keeper, Sanchez, who was brilliant midweek against City and had a lot to do. He didn't have anything to do really on Saturday. It just wasn't great. And obviously, it's 3 losses in a row if you include the Crawley game. The only good news is we've got Newcastle next, and even Sheffield United could beat them, and we smashed them 5-2 last time out Elland Road. So hoping to bounce back in 10 days' time.
Has the bubble burst, Josh? Has it come to another Leeds burnout, or is it okay?
It's a funny one, and we'll come on to that now. So obviously, an unnamed presenter. I'm not going to give them any more kind of stick.
She's cursed you, actually, isn't she?
So
one since.
Yeah, so they made the point about Bielsa burnout. What people fail to remember is last season, before the COVID break, we won 5 games in a row without conceding. And then our first game back after the break, we actually lost 2-0 away at Cardiff. So I'm not quite sure where this has come from. We then also won the final 5 games of the season. I think all of our players got pissed after ceiling promotion, and we played our second team and they still beat Derby County, but who can't beat Derby County these days? Burnout I'm not really that worried by. If you look at the form table over the last 6 games, we're 7th in the form table. We've won 3 and lost 3. So if we lose to Newcastle, which is possible, if Wilson has a good game, they've got very few players of quality, but if they do have a good game, I can't see us losing that. So, we've got Newcastle and Leicester, 2 away games. The pitch being away from home, I'm actually looking forward to not playing at Elland Road.
Jesus Christ.
It's so bad, wasn't
it? It was like Newport County. So just to clear it up, because people might have been wondering, especially Brighton fans, why it's so bad. The plan was to relay it during the summer, but obviously due to COVID, that wasn't possible due to the short pre-season. So obviously this summer we'll do it, but it's a bit late by then. It started to cut up as early as I know we played Man City, which was October time, where we drew 1-1. It looked bad that night, and over Christmas.
Really?
I don't know, it's been snowing in Leeds. It looked shocking.
Yeah, it was snowing the night before,
It's a shame because going on to looking at the game, both sides, they're not like your Burnleys and West Broms. They're teams that play good football. Both Leeds and Brighton, I have to give credit to both. And the fact neither team was really able to get that going, aside from the goal, there just wasn't enough of that free-flowing passing. There were so many sloppy, misplaced balls and the pitch definitely didn't help.
No,
I think to be fair, when you talk about, I was talking about the Burnout thing that I was on about. I wasn't so much talking about the Bielsa thing. I was talking more about just Leeds in general. Like over the past few years, I seem to remember 2017 season when we came up, and you were third and we were second, I think, and you basically finished seventh and we finished second in the end, and it just made me laugh because it reminds me of that time at Elland Road when everyone was saying, "Oh, you'll bottle it, you won't come up, and you won't come up," and it's just. Well,
yeah, I think I saw a video of that. The Chris Wood header, 2-0 at Elland Road.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That was the Gary Monk season. The snake who's now unemployed, as we like to refer to him. Yeah, so Gary, that team was probably got very few survivors who were in it. I think Cooper, Ayling, Phillips, probably the only ones. But yeah, the difference between that team and now is completely stark changes. So Bielsa's built a team using the same players. All those players, I think 9 of the 11 on Saturday were playing against QPR 2 years ago in the Championship. So yeah, the team that finished 13th the year after 2018, it's the same players, and he's managed to get them out of the Championship, which I never thought was possible. I thought we needed 6 editions.
I was gonna say on that point, like, is it fair to say that Leeds, like Bielsa, has got a Championship team like now playing well? Do you think that's a fair assessment?
Bielsa's actually been a bit of a victim, and he had this at Bilbao of his own success, where he got to the Copa del Rey final and lost 3-0 to Barcelona. I think Messi scored. Everyone's like, Bielsa burnout, he can't get over the line. But you're not going to beat that Barcelona team. It's a bit like Leeds at the moment. Leeds are 12th with 23 points. I think Fulham and West Brom combined have 23 points, the other two promoted sides. If Leeds had this season not started too well and just been like Fulham, let's say, who Scott Parker's got a bit of credit recently because they've been on an okay run, everyone would have gone, well, you know what, they're not too bad. But I think because Bielsa and he got nominated for Manager of the Year, and some fans think he's a fraud, some fans don't think he's great, some fans think Frank Lampard's a better manager. That's how crazy we've got into a world.
That's a step too far. Yeah.
I disagree with that, to be fair.
I think people then look at Bielsa and go, when you actually break down that team, and look, the back four yesterday, Jonathan Liu in The Guardian made a great point when we lost to Man U. It's the same back four who lost to Man U as lost yesterday. You've got Stuart Dallas, who's a left winger playing at right back. You've got Alioski, who was signed from Italy for peanuts, playing at left back. He's also a winger. And you've got Ayling, who's a right back at centre back with Liam Cooper. Look, Liam Cooper, club captain, part of the promotion team. But Ayling and Cooper are not our first choice centre backs. Robin Koch and Diego Llorente we signed in the summer for a lot of money as well. Bielsa has spent money. I think Koch was about 14 million and Llorente, as a Spanish international, was 20. He actually scored today for the under-23s. If we have them in the side fully fit, I think it's a different story. I think Ayling, you saw for the goal, he was just stood there stationary, did absolutely nothing. Yeah. And I'm not going to slate him. He's been brilliant this season, especially when he has been playing in his natural position. But there's a limit to what these players can do. When they're playing against, let's take the Man U game, Marcus Rashford, Martial, Bruno Fernandes, no one in the world, whether you're Guardiola, Klopp, Bielsa, it's very unrealistic to expect them to go toe-to-toe with those players every week and actually come out on top. So Leeds will lose more than they'll win this season. But I think why we give him so much credit, and he's got so much in the bank with us as a manager, is obviously he got us out of the Championship when so many other managers, even tried and tested ones like Neil Warnock, failed to do. All these people that everyone says he's a Championship genius. With Bielsa, we'd actually prefer, if you look yesterday, your rivals, Crystal Palace got battered by Man City 4-0. I was watching it last night. Palace had an XG of like 0.05. I think they had one shot in the game, or maybe two. It wasn't a lot. And I looked at that, and they lost by 4 goals, and we lost to a Manchester club by 4 goals, albeit our rivals. And I thought, what's the way I'd want to go about it? Actually have a go and lose 6-2, or just sit there and take a 4-0 beating and play 2-3 defensive mids. And I just look at it and go, yeah, we're going to get spanked a few times. Thankfully, we've only got spanked once. I'd say, yeah, we lost 3-0 to Spurs, but it wasn't really a demolition.
Palace 4-0?
Palace was 4-1, but again, there are a few off the crossbar. Leicester 4-1. I think.
Wait, hold on. So you missed two big ones out there. You went from having one bad result to three.
Yeah, but if you look at the results, yes. But if you actually look at the games and how they panned out, there's a massive caveat that Phillips was missing in both of those, as he was on Saturday, and we'll come on to say how important he is for us at what he does. But yeah, I just think Bielsa gets so much kind of leeway with Leeds fans because we'll take losing 5-0 to Liverpool or City because we know when we play Newcastle, West Brom, we'll beat them 5-0, 5-2. And those are the teams we need to be beating. If we struggle to then start beating them, that's when, and say like Brighton, who were in the bottom six when we played them, every other team in the bottom six this year we'd beaten. Fulham, Sheffield, West Brom, Newcastle, we'd actually beaten this season. You were the first ones we didn't pick up a point against. So it's like, okay, if those results continue, he'll come under a bit of, I don't want to say pressure, but he'll come under a bit more scrutiny. But for now, we don't really mind at all because we understand that the level of players we have, we're not going to be beating sides in this league every week.
I must admit, to be fair, on that, how you say about, teams taking it to teams, that was one thing I was really happy with Potter about watching the Leeds game. We were able to actually grind out a result, and that's why I was calling it a masterclass, because so often we just go straight at a team and we just don't really we just go for it and we can't defend, we can't hold on to a lead. We are the worst in the league at holding on to a lead. So when we went 1-0 up, I was fully expecting us to at least concede one or two, especially with how Leeds have been this season. To be fair, they have been scoring a lot, so I was thinking they're going to score a couple here. One isn't enough, but the way we held on and defended was actually really, really impressive. And that's why I called it a Graham Potter masterclass. Because if we can prove that we can do that, that's actually so reassuring for us. Because if we can do that more consistently, it's not always the prettiest, but sometimes it's the most necessary, especially when you're right down at the bottom. Because we haven't been able to do that since Chris Hughton.
I'd actually say, looking at Brighton, and to be fair, especially early in the season, you guys impressed me. I remember watching the Man U game with the famous penalty after the full-time. So I look at games like that, and you played way better against Man U than you did against Leeds in terms of attacking.
And then you did as well,
But you got no point. It was 3-2, I think, the final score. You lost. That game. So whereas you got 3 points against Leeds. And so it's going to that whole kind of pragmatic approach which Jose does a lot at Spurs. And Spurs are, on the whole, pretty boring to watch. They don't create a lot. They don't have many chances. But they get the job done. And so it's finding that balance between our teams, who the goal is to stay up this season. Obviously, Spurs is to challenge for the top four and maybe push for the title. But for Potter, fair play. Like, you're right, he set up well with five at the back. If you strangle them and you stop Rafinha and Harrison kind of beating their man. I know Rafinha had some success against Veltman in the second half, but really Harrison and Rafinha didn't have anything of the game.
I was just about to say. So I actually had it down in my notes. So Rafinha, for me, going into the game, and I said it this last week, didn't I, boys? I said, for me, he's the biggest threat when it comes to Leeds attacking. Out of Rodrigo. Exactly. But I was very I wasn't disappointed. I was happy. But for you guys, he didn't. For me, he didn't do anything throughout that game apart from sending Veltman back to Holland with that skill move he did. But apart from that, he didn't offer much. So just
the second half, I thought he was a lot better.
Rafinha came into it. My concern, and I was speaking to a Leeds fan on Twitter about this on Saturday, is that it didn't make sense because Harrison usually plays on the left, like he has done all season, and Rafinha plays on the right. They're both left-footed. To be fair, Rodrigo, Bamford and those two are left-footed, all front four are. But Harrison's usually a lot better at playing on his left side, getting to the byline and crossing. And it was weird that Bielsa set up from the start. And I don't know whether he wanted Harrison to have a go against Burn or whatever it was. It didn't work. And it didn't mean that it was the reason that we lost. But it was very strange to see them swap wings just for that game because Rafinha has been so good at feinting and going down the line or cutting inside on his left like the goal he did against West Brom. And it was just, it was a weird time to change it. And look, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but I don't know why he thought that switch would work, but it definitely didn't on Saturday.
Yeah.
Speaking of behind the scenes though, your backroom staff on the touchline, they're so loud and just constantly screaming. It was so infuriating. Even the fourth official had to tell him, be like, look, you don't need to scream and shout. You could it was picked up on the mic. Do you not find that quite annoying, or do you like the fact that they're constantly screaming and shouting?
There's a great piece Phil Hay wrote in The Athletic about his backroom stuff. Bielsa does it differently to other managers in the sense that clubs pay him, and then he pays the backroom staff quite generously. It is. So
All right.
we've got quite a few of them there. Who Pablo Quiroga, Diego Reyes, who have followed him for like his last 4 or 5 clubs he's been at. And so they're like his lieutenants who do all the work. Basically, I'm not saying Bielsa doesn't do any work, but
he sits on the toilet the whole game whilst they scream and shout.
Exactly. And so they're all out and about doing stuff. So they are very vocal. I think last season in the Championship, they all were booked multiple times.
Fine after fine.
Yeah, Bielsa, as you see on the TV, he's very calm. He sits on his seat or his bucket, as people call it. He has a coffee. He doesn't really celebrate, even when we win or score. He doesn't celebrate that often. But they are very energetic and very hard work.
I personally I don't hate it. Like I'm all about like passion, passion merchants. So I love it. It shows that they care, and I think it gets picked up a lot more, Ben, because obviously there's no fans in the ground now. So I think it's just so much more apparent because of the crowd noise. But right, let's delve into the game a little bit more. So obviously the first, I'd say, chance in inverted commas for Leeds was the cross from Alioski. It was an unbelievable cross where Bamford sort of swiped at it and sort of missed it, which I put down as a half chance, so to speak. But up until that point, it was quite an even game, like you mentioned, Josh. After that,
there wasn't anything in it for me. It was just at that point, it was both sides struggling to really create a chance with some passing and as I said, a lot of misplaced balls. Then Alioski got it, drilled that one almost too well across the box because it missed out. I think Rodrigo had a lunge at it and Bamford as well. But I think that was the story. That really was what Leeds went on to do for the rest of the game, which was these kind of nearly moments. They didn't create chances. They were just having balls in dangerous areas, let's say, but Brighton were pretty comfortable with that because you have 3 big centre backs and especially by the end of the game, Potter bloody playing like 5 defensive mids. It was part of the buff time. I think Bissouma came on, Ben White played brilliantly in midfield, and you've got this whole setup where you're quite happy for Leeds to have it wide, because if you've only got Bamford and Tyler Roberts, who's not the best in the air in the box, there's not going to really be any threat if you just sit up. And it's similar to when Wolves beat us 1-0 at Elland Road. Very similar game where not much in it. Wolves score, Jimenez scored, and then you've got their brilliant tall centre backs, and they'll just head everything away. It's bread and butter for them.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then after that, obviously in the first half we got our goal. Let's start with you, Ben, just from a Brighton point of view. Let's just talk about that goal, because let's be real, that was
I've watched it so many times.
Arguably our goal of the season for me, just because we haven't scored many. There's not many contenders. But for me, just the way the build-up play was incredible, and I know Josh has mentioned it. Defensively they don't have their best starting line, best starters, but I thought the way we cut through Leeds, and I don't know about you, Ben, obviously you can elaborate a little bit more, but what do you think of that, and how impressed were you with McAllister's role in that goal?
Oh, very impressed. I've watched it so many times I can literally play it back in my head now. If you want to test me, I'll do it. So ball goes over top, Dunk head clears it, and then Solly March flicks over his head. Pascal, lovely little dink touch inside to Ben White, who unbelievably drives through the midfield, skipping past
Steven
players.
Gerrard regen.
Yeah. Alexis makes like a darting run behind Stuart Dallas, and then cuts inside onto the right wing
Lionel
again.
Messi
So Dallas has no idea where McAllister is. McAllister gets the ball, fake shot, pass to Leo.
I feel like I'm there, Ben. I feel like I'm there.
1-2, Alexis across the box. Neil Mopay. Oh, it's a lovely goal from Brighton. It was a great goal.
I did actually have that moment after it went in going, first thought was, for fuck's sake. The second one was thinking about how Mad was celebrating. And the third one was going, he's not offside? But then looking back,
I must admit, I was scared he was.
It was quite tight. It didn't get checked. It didn't need to. But it was one of those where you're praying, thinking, maybe they'll save us. But I think everyone looked at Ayling and he was just stood there with no man around him.
Lapse of judgment for like 5 seconds to win it, bless him. But
our biggest thing was Pico Casilla going into the game, because I think you all might have seen his performance. Crawley, where I think he must have backed Crawley over 2.5, and it was shocking keeping, like he does every week. And funny enough, just going back to what we said at the start of the pod, everyone talking about Leeds having that break was the reason they sealed promotion. Most Leeds fans will actually now look at Casilla's ban for racism against Jonathan Lecco at Charlton. his ban, where it forced Bielsa to not play him. Obviously, he wasn't allowed to, and that's where Elland Road, our first choice, who was out on the weekend due to COVID, he came in, and he's been so solid and so impressive in so many games this season. I think he's second for clean sheets in the league behind Emi Martinez at Villa, albeit he's conceded loads as well, but I think that's more down to the stationary defending like you saw on the weekend and the keeping. So yeah, I think it was the weirdest thing was that we conceded, but it was a very it was one of the first times in a while against teams that aren't Man U and Spurs where we've actually just been completely torn apart there.
It's like a Man City goal.
Yeah,
it was like a Man City.
We were like a B-Tech Man City.
Yeah. Because I was talking about it last week. I was saying that Man City have so many tap-ins, and we finally had that kind of tap-in moment where you've earned that kind of sweaty goal. In that respect, I said it's the hardest thing to do, isn't it? It's the hardest thing to do, to tear a team apart and then square it across the box and tap it in. Like, it looks so easy in the end, but it's just not. Like, the way that was made, as I say, Alexis McAllister had a field day that day. He was just incredible. We're seeing Alexis like what we've wanted to see from him now. We're finally getting to see him in his prime, sort of thing, like what we've wanted to see out of his Argentinian time. And I actually saw a goal he scored for them. I think it was for Argentinian Santos, whatever they're called. Juniors, and he scored. Yeah, that's it. He scored. Literally, well, he assisted basically the same goal. He did that little run inside, did a little layoff, and then squared it across. It was literally identical to that Leeds goal. So yeah, it's obviously something you can do before.
No, definitely. And
before you go, Maz,
go on, Ben.
I forgot that we skipped past one thing. I believe we could have been 2-0 up at that point because before that, Mope was through on goal, but decided to jump to the ground, even though he was probably could have got a shot away. Do you think he made the right decision going down, or do you think he could have got the ball first and maybe?
For me personally, he was trying to buy a penalty there, and for me, that's just not the right way to go about it. Like, why? No. If you're in that position, just go for goal or try and get the ball instead of trying to simulate.
It looked like,
and I know Josh, you said at the time you were pretty annoyed at Mope, calling him a cheat. I think it was. He's doing a tie. He's a cheat.
We know what Mope is. He's a brilliant player. He's a cheat. Like, at the end of the day, he's one of those players. Lots of the Brentford team, Ollie Watkins did it when we used to play Brentford at Elland Road, and that Brentford team under Dean Smith, they have some very questionable tactics when it comes to players going down easy. But Mope's that sort.
Well, as you can tell from Villa this season, diving all over the shop.
Yeah, true.
So as you can tell from Villa, diving all the time this season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Jack Grealish spends more time on the floor than he does stood upright. So it's one of those where, look, Mope does it, but he's one of those, a bit like Alioski. They're a shithouse who you want on your team. But if they're not, you hate them. And I know Leeds players say that the same about Alioski. He's annoying. He gets in your face, gets in your ear, he kicks you, all of this stuff. But Mope, it was stupid because I feel like he could have got to the ball if he didn't.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think he could have got a little chip over him if he got to that. All he had to do was just dink it over him because the goalkeeper was down anyway. So, why he decided to dive there, I've got no idea. But at least he made up for it a little.
He must have felt something, but it would have been minimal if it.
I think I don't know about that. I think he just went down, tried to buy a penalty, and he saw that as the perfect opportunity. But just quickly, Josh, you mentioned about Meslier, however you say it, Meslier, and. What was a really good point actually, because both sides, I feel like, and especially I was quite vocal about it on Twitter, and it sort of backfired on me. But in terms of the starting lineup, so let's start with Brighton. Of course, we were all a bit perplexed with Basuma not starting, and that was a bit perplexing. And what's the other one that? And Percy Tau being dropped as well after being really really good against Man City. So we were questioning. Well, I personally was questioning Potter, the way he was setting up. I was a bit baffled by it.
I think it's fair to say the majority of the Brighton fan base did. To be fair, Maz.
And let's not forget Dan Burn as well. So he was in the starting up. So yeah, it was a very sort of we were all a bit worried. But then also on the flip side, Josh, you had obviously. Your keeper missing and Phillips as well. So basically my question would be is going to that game, how were you worried or were you still confident that you could have got a result?
We know, Leeds fans know the role Phillips plays. It's such a specialist one, and we've kind of wanted Bielsa to get a second person to help when Phillips isn't around. But Phillips is only ever unavailable when he's suspended. He's very rarely injured. I think he missed a couple of games early in the season. But the games he did miss this season, Leicester and Palace, the 4-1 defeat, Saturday where we lost to you guys, obviously. And it shows that when we try to put people then, it's quite unfortunate that Robin Koch, our centre-back's injured, because when he was playing in the Bundesliga last year, and he does for Germany sometimes, he can fill in that. But we were left with really no option but to play Pascal Struijk. And I don't want to criticise him too much. He's a young kid. front. He's like
he was pretty poor. Yeah,
he got shown when he was away at Villa Park, a game we won convincingly when he went off 3-0. He was booked for tackling Grealish and was lucky not to be sent off, and he got subbed off inside kind of 5 minutes. He's just not got the vision and the wherewithal to play that role. It's such a specialist position. Like we see in the England national team, we have so few defensive midfielders. Probably Rice and Phillips are the only two in the country. And even if you look in the Premier League now, like Chelsea struggle in that position. Kante's been
you got Ben White now as well.
Well,
so
look,
he plays there.
For me, I'd have Ben White starting for England at centre back, but we'll come on to him in a second. But there's always that worry, mainly with the keeper, because Melior's been so good and Casillas been so awful when he has played. And then Phillips missing as well. We knew the centre backs were out, so that wasn't a shock. We know we've had to struggle through games. It shows how bad West Brom are that we beat them 5-0 without a centre-back playing. But to miss Phillips is huge for us because he does everything. He was man of the match against Everton away at Goodison when we won, and he just makes the whole thing work. And he picks up the ball from the defenders. He sprays it out to Harrison and Rafinha, and without him, we don't have that middle piece that we need.
Yeah,
you were talking about cover. Sorry, you were talking about cover for that position. You're saying it's such a specialist position. Mm-hmm. If Phillips did go, who would be your ideal replacement, like realistic replacement? Because I can't really think of any other players. No. Like you said, we don't have much in England. Yeah. Are there any other players abroad that you think could do that role at least?
Yes. Well, there's one we've been linked with more in an attacking sense. So Udinese captain Rodrigo De Paul, who the owner liked a tweet on Saturday night about him potentially arriving. He was touted in a move for about 35 million, but he's a lot more attacking. He's kind of like that CAM role. For Phillips' role, it's really tough. I think Robin Koch, as I said, could play there when he's back fit because he's done it before for club and country. Diego Llorente, also one of our injured centre-backs who's on his way back. He was on the bench on Saturday. He can play there, and he did so when he was in La Liga last season. But you look around the leagues, even the lower leagues, there's not many that scream out as they could do the role. It's such a tough position because Bielsa, as you might have noticed this season, when we come up against a team who play two strikers like Burnley, Phillips then drops back and becomes a third centre-back. So to have that versatility, Phillips used to be an attacking mid under Steve Evans and Paul Heckingbottom and some of these managers we had. So he transformed him into, he was someone, Phillips, who was probably worth about $1 million and he was going to go out the door like a few of the other ones. But he managed to turn him into this defensive mid. And Phillips is obviously put on a lot of size. He's got a lot stronger. And so he can play that role. But you look around the league even, and Arsenal struggle in that position. If you look at lots of the teams outside the elite, the kind of Man City have brilliant players there. Fernandinho, Rodri, they can do that role. But you look outside of them and outside of Liverpool with Fabinho, who I think is brilliant. There's not a lot really in this division of good defensive mids who can really solidly protect their back line. Ben White was brilliant on Saturday. Outside of him and a few others, you look around and just go, there's a worrying kind of lack of talent.
I was going to say, so is the Leeds fan base pretty scared that if they do have to let Kalvin Phillips go if you get an amazing bid, are Leeds fans pretty scared that they're going to be pretty fucked moving forward if they don't replace him well?
It's an interesting one. Something I've not really thought about. Obviously, he was massively linked with Villa the year they went up and we lost the derby before we got promoted. We turned down a bid for about 25 million. It would cost a lot more now. He's since played for England and we're in the same league as teams like Villa. I think it's going to be hard to imagine he team he goes to because he plays that role. Look, outside of the top six, in terms of those European Champions League, I don't see why anyone, let alone someone like Phillips who's been at Leeds his whole life, why you would go from Leeds to I don't know, a Southampton or an Everton, one of those teams. It's not that big a step up. We're only probably 3 or 4 points behind those teams. The money's not going to be much different. We can offer him loads. I just can't see any of our players really slotting into too many teams. A, because unfortunately, individually, they're not really good enough for your Champions League sides. But B, it's a sidestep move that doesn't make sense because they're playing such a specialist role in this team. I just don't know. Look, maybe he would be and he'd prove me wrong. I don't know if Phillips would be so good in other teams because he's so used to playing such a set role at Leeds. But I don't know.
That makes sense.
It's definitely interesting to see if he goes and who will replace him if it does happen. But I don't know. I personally don't think he'll be quick to move because I think he likes it there and they're doing well. You're doing well. So I don't really see much going on here. But so going on to second half, obviously there wasn't let's be real, there wasn't really much going on in second half. But let's talk about Ben White because we've mentioned him a lot of times, and of course that's sort of how this what we call this fake rivalry, which isn't, there is no rivalry, but this sort of thing came about. Yeah, the Ben White derby came about. So first of all, let's just shout out to Ben White for providing us with a meme. That was much appreciated with a little smirk. So that was great for content. But more importantly,
Lewandowski.
Ben White for smiling after winning. That's
No. It was before the match.
No, it was before the match. He did the Lewandowski, the Lewandowski roast thing. Yeah. So he did that. So shout out to Ben for providing us with that. But no, just talking about Ben White in terms of his performance. So let's start with you, Ryan. How well do you think he played in that game? Because I've got a different view to everyone else. But you go ahead first and let us know what you thought like his performance as a whole.
I think he just worked really well in midfield for once. Like I think it was probably his best game for us he's had. And luckily it was against Leeds. I mean, to have Ben White playing his best game against Leeds is just top tier sort of content you want, isn't it? But no, it was just
poetic.
He was just brilliant.
Right?
Yeah, he was just brilliant. I mean, he held the game together really well. He did all the simple stuff, but on top of that, he attacked really well. I haven't seen Ben White charge forward like that before. I assume he did it for Leeds quite a bit, but the way he came forward was, as I said, it was Gerrard-esque. I mean, it was like for that goal, I was thinking, my God, Ben, where's this come from?
Steady, Ryan, steady.
No, but I'm serious. Like seriously, Ben White has not done that before, and I was genuinely really surprised because I was thinking, literally 1 week ago, I was saying I think Ben White's a bit overrated, and I went on a live stream for Leeds, and I said the same thing. And I just think, where's that come from?
Just on that, Ryan, you went on that live stream that you went on with a Leeds fan. I remember because I watched it back, and he actually said, Josh, that Ben White was the best defender he's seen at the club since Rio Ferdinand. So that's a big statement. Would you agree with that from his performance last season?
Yeah, since we dropped out of the Prem in 2004, we've had some good ones. Sol Bamba, who's obviously recently been diagnosed with a bad illness. I hope he gets better. He was brilliant for a period. Pontus Jansson, obviously, before we sold him, he was good, a bit of a cult hero. But yeah, Leeds have always struggled with centre backs. We've had a number of poor ones, and yeah, I think what White proved last season, and look, it was no one when we signed him the summer before last, everyone was going, okay, but who's going to play with Cooper? We thought this young guy had been at Newport. We didn't really expect him to start.
It's a big gamble.
It's a massive gamble from Bielsa to bring in a guy with no championship experience to play full, and all we had were really him, Liam Cooper, and Berardi, who's been injured for the whole of this season. So he's more a right back as well. So Bielsa was always questioned, you don't have enough cover at centre back. Like Ben White, can he be up to it? And he played every game, all 46 games, I think, last season.
I think so,
he even played hungover against Derby, which was quite impressive. Shows how good he was.
And then he scored an absolute screamer as well.
He scored in the final game against Charlton, I want to say, in the 4-0. Final game of the season at home at Elland Road when we lifted the trophy. And he was... Look, we all know.
Listen. We get it. You lifted the trophy, all right. Just because we didn't do it,
we got a second place trophy. Don't forget.
Yeah, but with Ben White, he's someone who we all loved him. He was brilliant. Like I don't think now he's the one player that no Leeds fan will have a bad word to say about. Like, look, Ryan and I will probably disagree. I'm pretty convinced he wanted to come back to Elland Road. You're playing under a better manager at a bigger club. Why wouldn't you? And he probably had more chance of getting into the England setup. I think he should be there anyway. Like, for me, if you're saying 4 England centre-backs, I can't name 4 English centre-backs better than Ben White. So he's
Adam Webster and Lewis Dunk have something to say about that, yeah.
The obsession with Dunk and Webster from Brighton fans is interesting. But, White's a different level. I think Ryan, to be fair, and agreeing with you for once, the way he strode out with the ball was so impressive. It's what he couldn't really do that much in the Championship last year because, as you can probably expect, teams set up against Leeds in the Championship very defensively. It was very much 10, 11 men behind the ball. Whereas, yes, against a team like Leeds, obviously playing for you guys, he was able to have the ball and so much space ahead of him to actually charge out. And when he does it, he's brilliant. I remember against
Newcastle. Sorry, Josh.
Against Newcastle, I think it was a ball he played to Lamptey, then crossed it for Malpe or whatever. Newcastle away for you guys. He's so good playing that right centre-back / right wing-back role with Lamptey. And he's got that ability to do it in from midfield as well.
When you say Go on, I'll let you speak.
Yeah, just quickly, just because I'll forget it otherwise. So you mentioned the fact that White was able to do that, but then would you not give credit because you've sort of disregarded Potter a couple of times? Would you not then say that it was down to Potter's formation and the way he set up against you that allowed Ben White to have that kind of freedom?
Yeah, look, Potter deserves credit. I saw quite a few of you, Maz in particular, you were slating the lineup, and a few Brighton fans were in the setup, saying it was almost too offensive, too attacking. People were worried that it was going to leave you guys exposed, but I think he got it spot on. I think, look, people know, especially when Phillips doesn't play, Leeds are weak through the middle. You've only got Rodrigo and Clicks in there, and Clicks a centre mid trying to do the job of three of them, because Rodrigo is much more attacking. He doesn't really like to defend, and as I said, Strauch isn't really a midfielder either. So if you overrun Leeds in the midfield like Man U did, obviously it helps they had people like Bruno Fernandes to do it. But if you overrun Leeds in midfield, you're going to do well against them, and you're going to create chances yourselves. But you're also, most importantly, going to stop Leeds. And if you stop Leeds, that's the key to obviously getting the points.
Ryan, go on. You were going to say something.
I was going to say, just on the Webster and Dunk thing. I mean, I know White hasn't played so much in centre back this season, but just right now, I wouldn't say that he's clear of either of them yet. Obviously, that's from a Brighton perspective, watching him every single week as we have been. And I know you're going to say, yeah, but you didn't know who White was about a year ago.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Bielsa, you guys should be kissing Marcelo Bielsa's feet.
I watched him play in 2017, so I did, and picked out him and Malumbi in that game in particular. So, all right. But anyway, if you want, you can check through my Talk Seagulls posts. But anyway, no, what I was going to say is just, Webster and Dunk have just been so good for us. And I think Webster's finally coming into it. We've got to remember with White as well, to be fair, they've come out of the Championship to come to the Premier League. I mean, Webster's only in his second season in the Prem. Last season he was shaky, but you could see his ability. And I think he's genuinely starting to prove now. I think now that he's on the right as well, because he was playing on the left a lot, and that wasn't suiting him a lot. I think on the right he's just so much better. And he's just been class this season, bringing the ball out as well. I think he's better than any other player in the league, in the world. I think actually, isn't he? I think he's
genuinely, Josh,
European leagues.
I think in the European leagues, he's the number one ball carrier.
I'm pretty sure Luke Ayling, and the Sky commentator said it was Luke Ayling on the weekend, ahead of him.
It's Adam Webster.
That was something else. I'm not sure what it was, but it was Thiago Silva was second, but Luke Ayling was up there.
Yeah, fair enough. But they've done well. Webster, Dunk, White. So remind me, who was the third centre back on the weekend? I forgot now.
Big Dan Burn, mate. How can you forget?
Dan Burn,
and then March and Veltman either side. Yeah, look, it's the perfect.
Rafinha couldn't break down.
Yeah, no, but they're big.
Only cost 900k. Let's not forget.
Big cool players, but look, to be fair, if you're comparing managers and resources, Webster was, I think, around £20 million from Bristol City, whereas the whole Leeds defence, all four of them combined, were under £5 million. So it's.
And they were all shite, so there you go.
Spot on, to be fair. He's not wrong.
I think Stuart Dallas and Ayling have had strong seasons when playing in their proper positions. Alioski and
no, but if you mentioned sort of the wrong position, but in our defence as well, we've had players not been playing. So Veltman Veltman's not a right wing back. You've got Dan Burn who's filled in at left wing back. So we've had our fair share as well. But I get what you're saying in terms of the personnel that you started with. They weren't playing in their regular positions against us.
That's I still expect, especially the run Brighton have been on, I still expected that 11 to win that game, and more importantly to play well and create chances. I don't mind, I accept Leeds losing. We're going to lose a lot, as I've said this season, but I want us to still go out and dominate games and create chances like we did against Spurs and stuff like that. I understand we don't have the quality to put them all away. We don't have Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. We've got Bamford and Klitsch, good players. They're limited. They're not world-class elite players. But I just wanted us to play our usual style. And we did it for about 15, 20 minutes in the second half. Hernandez coming on actually gave us a bit of control of the ball. And there was a period where we had you guys penned in, but we didn't create anything. There was a through ball from Bamford to Roberts. He scuffed his shot. As I said, the ball fell to Harrison. He's got to hit the target from there. He'll be disappointed. But look, I thought a draw was a fair result. I thought it was a really poor game in general in terms of quality, and the pitch was a reason for that. But also because I think Brighton, once they got their goal, and credit to Potter, he knew how important the 3 points were, especially earlier in the day West Brom had won. You guys couldn't have afforded to let that slip.
That's the thing.
He got the win.
That's the thing. A lot. Well, I think Sky Sports brought up one of the stats infographics was that we have let go of winning positions the most out throughout the Premier League. So for us as Brighton fans, and I'm sure Ben and Brian will agree, like, it was so refreshing to see that we actually held out in the game for once. Like, going into that last 10 minutes, I literally couldn't breathe. I actually could not breathe because I just thought
my heart was racing the whole game.
Yeah, I was like, Leeds are just going to score. You know, it's typical Brighton. You know, 1-0 up. Leeds are going to score, and then great. And then let's say there's 5 minutes to go. Leeds will then just go out and win 2-1. And that's what, I'll be honest, that's just how I felt in that last 10, 15 minutes. But in saying that, I think that's just because of my preconceived nerves. Whereas, I'll be honest with you, I didn't feel threatened by you. Like, throughout that game.
They didn't do anything,
I didn't feel that you were actually going to score. No, I'm not even wrestling.
They didn't.
We could have played for another half an hour, and I don't think we looked like scoring. And as I said, that came down to you guys having those kind of two lines of 5 and then kind of 4 ahead of them, and we just couldn't break it down. And that's the problem with Leeds. When we do go a goal down, we sometimes struggle because teams will then do that. And we had this in the Championship last season, where Leeds are at their best when teams come at them, and we can, a bit like with Man City, where we can have a go and find space in behind. When Brighton, and they accepted the 1-0 from kind of the time Bissouma came on, and just before that when I think McAllister and Mopé came off. He was just thinking, we need the 3 points here, and that's why Dunk let out a scream you could probably hear on the South Coast. It was like he'd won the World Cup at full time. Yeah. And I get Elland Road is a big day out for some of your players, but it was incredible.
This is a bit rich coming from a club who've beaten us 3 times in 12 years. Isn't
it? Like 12 years, yeah. Three wins in 12 years.
To answer that, Ryan, as you see with Crawley, Newport, Sutton, we always do badly against the smaller clubs. So, yeah, I wasn't to hear that 3 in 12 games.
Mate, you mentioned Sutton, but they've got a better fucking pitch than you, Josh, I'll tell you.
No, it is a shambles. And it is a shame.
I love this.
I'm not doing this, can't wait to see you next week, but I am actually looking forward to the return game, because the Amex is a good pitch and it'll be in a good condition, and we'll have a game of actual football where both sides play their best. That wasn't Brighton's best attacking performance. You guys know that. We know that. And actually a game...
Arguably our best goal, though.
It was a good goal. Yeah. But again, neither side could really honestly say we did enough to win a game of football. There 2 shots on target.
I disagree with that, you know.
Really?
I think we did this. I think we deserve to win that by...
It can't be enough to win a game of football in the Premier League, surely.
Of course it is. I mean, you look at the likes of Burnley and they bank on those 2 shots on target because that's how they've survived for the last few years. I think personally that was the sort of performance that we want to see because, as I mentioned earlier, it's the sort of grind out performance that deserves a win. I mean, you can't honestly say that Leeds deserved even a point out of that game.
I think a point... I'm not saying we deserved anything, but I definitely think a point would have been a fair result given how little both teams created. Aside from the you could argue
I disagree completely.
Or Robert stick their chance away a bit like you guys did with yours, and a 1-1 or a 0-0. I put it this way: if that game was 0-0 and for some reason that move didn't develop and Stroud could cut off Ben White, I know it's a massive if, all of these things. But I don't think you guys would have been disappointed with a point. You would have gone.
So that's like saying if he didn't score, it would have been 0-0. Well, of course it would.
No,
so it wasn't.
My point is, you guys would have accepted that was a 0-0 game. It was a one-off moment of good play. But other than that, there was very little quality.
Josh, it reminds me of when Gino De Campo said, "If my mother had wheels, she would have been a bike."
Exactly.
But no. Listen. Just to sort of play the moderator.
Devil's advocate.
I definitely agree with Ryan in the sense that I don't think Leeds did enough to warrant a point. But then I see what, on the flip side of that, in saying that, I see what Josh is saying because we didn't have like loads of chances, clear cut, etc., etc. So I sort of get what Josh is saying, but I respectfully disagree that you deserve a point.
Yeah, the second half, and I get the mentality changes. You guys have got your goal. You're not going to be as expansive. The second half, I remember 2 moments. One was where Alioski did an Alioski thing of giving the ball away. So I think McAllister, or someone who set up McAllister or Trossard for a shot, I can't remember, which went over the bar. And the other one was where Webster charged out and had a shot from 30 yards, which was comfortable. Well, even for Kiko, it's comfortable. And it's just, for me, if that's all that's going to be offered in a half, I'd say both of us had the same level of chances. It wasn't great. Obviously,
I definitely get it from that perspective.
Good football came from you guys. Yes, there was the deflection that hit the bar, but that was a bit of a freak accident. But yeah, for me, that if you play that game another 10 times, I think the majority of them end up 0-0 draws because both teams were just poor. I just think it really lacked quality. Aside from, you have to give credit to the defence and the defensive midfielders like Ben White, who were the only good players on the pitch. I thought Trossard, Malpe in general, I know he scored, but he didn't do anything in the game. The same as Bamford, Rafinha, Harrison. They were all just passengers, really, and it was a game won by Brighton's solid defence.
Ryan, you don't agree?
I just couldn't name you a Brighton player on that pitch that day that didn't have a good game.
Neil Malpai.
Genuinely.
Neil Malpai.
What? He literally scored. I thought Mopé did pretty well. I mean, he held the ball up as you'd want Mopé to do, as he does every single week. He's definitely got his confidence back. I'd say he worked pretty well up there. I'd say Trossard probably had one of his better games. We've definitely been slating Trossard a lot, and I think he proved it a couple of days ago that he is, he still can do it. McAllister had probably his best game in a Brighton shirt. Ben White had probably did have his best game in a Brighton shirt. Duncan Webster were absolutely solid. Sanchez didn't have anything to do, so I can't.
And let's not forget, this is after a proper busy week as well, because playing
exactly.
We have City, and then was it Newport before that?
Third game in the week.
Newport, Man City midweek, and then we had Leeds at Elland Road. But no, listen. Just to sort of sweep it all together and like sort of summarise it all. I think I definitely get what Josh is saying, and I actually agree with some points. But then on the flip side as well, and I've said it to Josh off air, and off the podcast, I've said it. I think we did deserve to win that game. So yeah, I mean, we could argue all day. There's different opinions, and that's what was beautiful about the
similar game to wrap it up, Maz, where we had over the Christmas period against Burnley, where we won 1-0. We got the penalty early on, we scored it, and then for one reason or another, maybe it was the pitch or whatever, again, Burnley stopped us creating anything, and we somehow did a very unlike Leeds performance. We were a solid 1-0, similar to Brighton on Saturday. And I came away going, we deserve that, we defended well. But then you looked at the chances and go, well, we really only had like a couple of shots. But yeah, it is what it is. Look, the main thing is we're still 6 points clear of you with the game in hand. So it's a nice buffer in terms of Maz, the bet you and I have on who's going to finish higher. It doesn't help that I've had the bet with Malpe and Rodrigo, because Rodrigo's
I think we're going to equal each other out. I think.
Yeah, we'll finish with Brighton. But
didn't you have a bet about the match as well? Wasn't it?
I won that one with with one of my colleagues. Yeah, so it was a nice little sort of added cherry on top.
On that Leeds podcast I was on the other night, and he said, all Leeds TV, something like that.
Yeah, all Leeds TV.
He said to me, they're going to be. He said he's confident, really confident, 3-0 win. Really simple game for them. Can't see Brighton doing anything to us, and we're going to just dominate them and steamroll them. And it's just funny hearing their sort of, and including your confidence, if you like. I just think it's quite cute, because I'm not going to come bite back on it at the moment, because I know where we are in the table, and I know that we're not prepared to be in a place where we can say we should be in the Premier League at the moment. To be fair, we've had a lot of chances, but we haven't scored them. But I just can't see where Leeds get this magical confidence from, because, I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of games where you think, going to Man United losing 6-2, losing 4-1 to Palace, losing 4 to Leicester. I mean, 4-1 to Palace, that's borderline unforgivable, isn't it? I mean, how do you even lose 4-1 to Palace? I mean, they don't even attack with 4 goals. How did you concede that many to them?
I'll answer that question, Ryan, quite simply, where the confidence comes from. So if you look at the league table, I'm looking at it now, so you've got Newcastle 15th, yourselves 16th, and then Burnley, Fulham, West Brom, Sheffield. Sheffield we beat 1-0, West Brom 5-0, Fulham 4-3, Burnley 1-0, Newcastle 5-2. So we've beaten every other of these struggling weaker teams, and I know Brighton probably should be higher in the league because they've missed a few chances, but at the end of the day, against these kind of bottom half relegation candidates, we've swept the floor with a few of them, and we ground out results with others. And I think that's where we came from. We know, like even Arsenal, we battered them. It's probably the most dominant performance of the season for us, other than West Brom 5-0, was Arsenal. I know we drew 0-0. It sounds crazy because we beat Newcastle 5-2, for example, but Arsenal was a game we dominated so much, and they're a team who were just a place above us. Palace was a freak game looking back at it for a number of reasons. Like Eze scored a free kick off that came in off the bar. They had a couple of deflections. We had that VAR goal where Patrick Bamford put his arm out and then...
Oh, mate, I'd have been fuming if that was against us.
There were a few things that game that didn't really fall our way, and that was even without Phillips. We should have got at least a point, because Palace are, as you guys will like hearing me say, Palace are fucking awful. They are a dreadful side. I've said for years, Wilfried Zaha is a brilliant player, but if they didn't have him, they'd be in the Championship.
That's why I want him to leave so bad.
He's incredible, because I was watching games, I think a Leicester game over the Christmas period where they ground out a draw, And Zaha, for me, the biggest mistake in Premier League football over the last 2 years has been Arsenal signing Nicolas Pepe over Wilfried Zaha. Zaha is a I wouldn't say world class, that's maybe too far, but he's a brilliant footballer in the Premier League. He will start for almost every team, if not all of them, outside the top four. And it's funny with Palace, where I follow quite a few Palace fans, and I know quite of my mates who are Palace fans. They struggle so badly because all they've got is these big Brexit centre halves like James Hopkins and Chet Kouyaté and Joel
Scott Dunn.
These giants,
Scott Dunn,
these land of the giants who are good at set pieces, which is how they actually scored their first goal against us. They've got McCarthy, MacArthur, and all those regens who are just the same player playing.
Regens,
Miljovic. And really, you've got, in terms of quality, you've got Eze, who's brilliant. Obviously, remember,
he's class.
And you've got Zaha, who's by far and away their best player. He's light years ahead of the rest. And if you keep, it's a big if, and I was watching the worst game of the season so far, Palace Arsenal, the other night. If you do manage to keep them quiet, they just don't have anything. And it's like Man City on Sunday night. If you stop them, and Man City have the quality, like Diaz, for me, has been one of the players of the season, the new signing from Benfica. Obviously, Stones has come into it as well. If you stop Palace from having Zaha, that outlet, and that's why they played Walker at right back instead of Cancelo, I think, just to have that pace. You stop Zaha on that left wing, they have nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I think Zaha was even dropped, wasn't he?
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. Like, I don't consider the Premier League this year is the bottom teams are so bad, and I don't consider you guys in that bracket. I think you're in the bracket more with Newcastle, Palace, who are teams who won't go down because they've got that bit of quality. I think really you're looking at the bottom five now. You guys have started to come and pull away.
Do you not put yourself in that bracket with Newcastle?
We're again a level above. I linkly, and you guys might laugh at us. The team I want to judge us on this season is Arsenal. I think we should be where Arsenal are, because I look at them, having played them and watched their games, they're poor. Yes, they've got a few better individuals than us, but they're a really, really poor side.
All right. So
we'll finish around them.
All right, so to wrap it all up, because you've been a fantastic guest, and it's been really it's been very
in the post, yeah.
yeah, the whole £2.50 in the post, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Just to wrap it up and sort of get your final sort of thoughts on it then. So, with regards to Leeds' final position, then where do you think Leeds will finish? Do you think so? Let's just to give you a bit of context to everyone listening. Off air, Josh to me previously has said that you guys will finish top 6 before the season started.
Top 8 was the term used.
Okay, all right, top 8. We'll give you top 8. Do you still think that will? Do you still think that will happen? That would be my question to you.
So looking at the table now, just to reference my memory, so we're 6 points off 8. No, I don't think we'll finish top 8. I think we've realised now, and I'm hoping this is a learning curve, and I'll keep this brief. Bielsa realises that the small squad he had in the Championship, it doesn't quite work in the Premier League, because in the Championship you can have... No, I know, shocking, Ben. Despite there being more games, 8 more games, it's a case of the replacements like Alioski and Cooper and Pascal Strike. I know Cooper plays a lot, but we've now got better players than him. They're not good enough to get you in.
Yeah, you get found out easily.
Yeah, and players like Alioski, Strauch and Tyler Roberts, they're good players, but they're not Premier League decent quality. So I think, to answer your question, I think we'll finish between 8th to 12th, somewhere there. I know that's a bit of a long ballpark, but comfortable mid-table. Look, we got 23 points. I think 36, 38 will keep you up this year. So we really need 5 wins. Thankfully, we've still got to play Fulham, Sheffield United, Newcastle, Brighton. Again, I'm looking forward to that one. 1st of May, I've just checked. I'll hopefully be coming on a couple of days after that with a bigger smile on my face. But yeah, I think
you won't be coming on if you win that game. You do.
Most disappointed, really. We're also
not
out.
My boss. I don't
because now we're, I don't want to jinx it, but I am going to jinx it. Now we look like being relatively safe. I've seen with the bookies, we're like 25-1 to go down. I don't think we will. The cup was something I was looking for us to have a go at, so we'd have something to kind of play for this season.
That worked.
The delusion, yeah.
Yeah, that went very well, making all those changes and getting knocked out by reality.
Mark Wright's men, yeah.
Yeah, Mark Wright, yeah.
So,
Mark Wright's
I think
Town.
we'll be around 10th to 12th, and I think you guys will be about a similar position, maybe 2-3 positions below, about 14th, 15th, both staying up, and hopefully we'll crack on next year, and Ben White will move back home to Elland Road.
Fat chance. Fat fucking chance.
There you go.
Well,
Amazing.
that was a deluded last wrap up, wasn't it? So, without any further ado, Josh, thank you very much for coming
This
on.
is coming from the guy Ryan who talks about Percy Tau. The only Percy I know.
Don't you disrespect his name,
There you
Josh.
go. This big footballer, Percy Tau, who's supposed to
You
light
do
up.
realise he's better than any of your wingers, mate. So I don't know what you're on about.
Yeah, Rafinha and Percy Tau, it's different levels. But I
It
look
is different
forward to the
levels,
1st
you're
of May. And no, fair play. Congrats on the win. You did play well. I'll take it. I wasn't looking forward to coming on today as much as I was at Saturday. But well done, lads. And look forward to see you all in May.
No, honestly, Josh, we appreciate your time, and it's been a good laugh. So it's been good. And like you said, you never know. If we do beat you again, you'll definitely come back on. If we lose, you're not coming back on. But no, really appreciate it. And we're gonna say our goodbyes, and then we'll crack on with the talking points after that.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Josh for coming on. He was a really good sport, and we had some good banter, especially with Ryan. So that was really really good to see.
I could have gone further, but I didn't want to push him too much, but I did feel like it a little bit. But no, we let him talk a bit. He loved the chat. To be fair to him, so no, it was good. We enjoyed it. So that was good. So let's talk about then. So quickly, just before we actually go into the talking points, let's just talk about our last episode. So we just want to say a big thank you to our South African listeners and people that are watching it on YouTube, because basically our last video, it's not to brag or anything, but it blew up. It went mad. It was crazy. So we hit over 50k views and still growing now, which is just mental. We had over 400 comments or something crazy. Yeah,
something
ridiculous.
like
You know what got me, Maz? The amount of likes on the comments. I think the top comment had like over 1,000 likes. It was just
mad.
What?
That is register your South African vote here.
Yeah.
That was
So absolutely legend. So firstly, just as from all of us, and I speak for all of us,
thank you.
Yeah, big thank you, and really really appreciate all your support. And also 1,500 subscribers as well. Which is mental.
We were like 250 or something.
Yeah,
actually, it went up 700 in one day. 700.
Yeah, it
in one
literally
day.
did.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If we get to like 10k subscribers from all of them, I'll get one of those South African things for the back of my wall.
Yeah. We all get South African flags. Like Ben's got the South African flag, we will all get South African flags. Away. Yeah, we really appreciate the support.
Yeah,
and in honor of that, we are going to introduce a weekly new segment called Percy CAM. So essentially, what that is, we're going to be quickly reviewing Percy Tau's individual performance each week. Every time he plays, obviously. We've got to cater to the fans. We're going to review that. And we're going to start off straight away with that. So
before we do that, and then also, so every week, so every episode now, you'll know from now, if that makes sense. So in the next episode, you'll know that we'll put in the comment section what minute Percy CAM starts for you. So we'll pin the comment on the YouTube comment, so you can just click on that and watch it straight away. So remember that for the next episode, guys.
That's what we do. We do it for you guys. We do everything for you. And
also as well, because we're lovely people.
Let's not forget about our UK followers as well. We really appreciate the UK followers as well, of course, and all the Brighton diehards that follow us as well. So really appreciate all of you guys. So let's start off with Percy then. So admittedly, he didn't play much this week. And look, I'm going to be the villain. I'm going to kick off straight away and be the villain. I thought he was pretty poor when he came on. I know it's harsh. I know it's harsh because he only was on for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but even less than that maybe. But so it's harsh. It's harsh, but I'll be perfectly blunt and honest and upfront. He was pretty poor in terms of some of loose touches. He gave the ball away a couple of times. He didn't make it stick, in my opinion, and that's what. And he's not holding a striker that.
Not a defensive striker.
Exactly, and I think that's
he's brought into a team that was on the back foot, like
exactly. But that was just my view. And Ryan, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think to be fair, when he come on, it's hard for him without any Prem experience to sort of know the physicality of the last 10 minutes of holding on to a 1-0 lead, especially in England. I mean, it's going to be a tough call. And I found it actually a bit harsh, to be fair. I think he probably should have just left him on the bench because bringing on Percy Tau 10 minutes, 15 minutes left, I think it was a bit of a wrong move. And to be fair, he gave the ball away a few times. We probably would have been better off. Go on.
It's interesting because I was quite happy that he's coming on, simply because I saw a few articles. I think Andy Naylor had done one for The Athletic, and also Liam from Albion Analytics. He's said one of Percy Tau's key attributes was pressing. So I was expecting him to come on, chase the ball around like Craig McHale-Smith used to do. Right. He didn't quite do that. So I was led to false false hope there, but I thought he was going to be a pretty decent striker or defensive striker to bring on. But
I think we sort of knew he wasn't going to be the person to hold on to it and stuff, if you know what I mean.
That's
someone
why,
to run into the corner sort of thing, you know. That's what we needed.
100%.
And that's, as we said, with Proper coming on for Mope, was such a, as I said earlier, with Potter's masterclass, if you will. The way he held on to that game, bringing on Proper for Mope, you could say it's a really negative sub, but it goes to show that. And I hope he continues it and proves that we can do this consistently, that he's got a plan B, because that was one of the biggest things that we've been debating for so long. Does Graham Potter have this plan B? Can we go away from the pretty football to grind out a result? And we've done it a few times, but we've never done it consistently. And against a team like Leeds, you know, who get praised for losing 6-2. But, you know, to
Josh isn't
do
on
it against Leeds.
I like how you said that after he went off.
Yeah, I know. It's a shame he's not here anymore. But no, as I say, with doing it against Leeds, who will attack you, it is quite reassuring to see that we can stop them from attacking us. And we did it against City 100%. As well, to be fair. So that's 2 games in a row now where we've proved that we can defend really well. And I really hope that we can continue it, because, as I say, if we can get a bit of consistency going, you know, we were clinical against Leeds. If we can do that again, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing us get a bit ugly just to get some pretty results.
Yeah, no, 100% agreed. And then just to sweep up, because I know it's a very brief Percy CAM as our first one, but just to cover it off, just quickly, we'll go round. So we start with you, Ben. Just give us a rating out of 10 for Percy Tau and your reasons why.
So I think it would be fair to say maybe like a 6. Are we doing point? Are we doing decimals?
If you want, go
5.5. 5.5. I think it would be unfair to judge him too much, simply because he came on with like you said, 50 minutes to go, and like you see some newspapers and media outlets, when the players only come on for a certain amount of time, they just put his rating as void. But if we had to, you'd have to say, because like you mentioned, Maz, he had a few chances where he could have played a good pass or made a good touch and a run or something like that, but he did fail to do that on a few occasions. So I think maybe a 5.5. Unfortunately, guys.
Yeah, I think that's about fair. 5.5, 6. I mean, to be fair, as you say, he's come in on a very difficult game, to say the least, and probably asked to do something he's never really done before. As I say, it probably would have been best for him not to be actually on the pitch. But, you know, I hope...
Good for us, though.
I just, you know, it's hard to judge him, isn't it, at the minute, because he's only just come into England. We need to give him a chance to settle. It's a completely different culture as well. You've got to think, like, personally... it's not just on the pitch, off the pitch. He's come over to England. It's different culture, different climate. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and hopefully, you know, we can see there's quality there. So hopefully, we can see
Percy
that
effect
against Blackpool.
The Percy effect has actually taken over our club. Like, since he's arrived, we've had pretty decent performances and results.
Yeah,
but,
that's actually true. Bit of positivity. Actually, I saw who was it that did the interview? I can't remember what one of our players it was, and was it Webster maybe? I can't remember, Dunk, something like that. And they basically just said that Percy Tau's brought like a lot of smiles to the training ground, which is really good to see.
That's amazing.
So
well,
he's a very happy guy.
I said that, didn't I? I compared him to Sadio Mane in the sense that he's a very happy.
One of the comments loved that.
And I think I still stick by that. And just to give my quick review as well. So I'm going to go the same as you guys, 5.5. Just to reiterate, just to echo your points. I thought it's harsh to judge him. You know, he was on 10 minutes, but just for me, a couple of chances where he could have passed it quicker, or you know, had basically release the ball and hold it up. I don't think he did that. But definitely not by no stretch did he have a bad game, because it's very harsh to judge that. And I'm very, very excited to see him play going forward. So really looking forward to that. So,
the final point on Percy CAM, this might just me, well, I used to be blonde. I have blonde moments. I still do. Did you know that Tau means lion? Or was I the only one that knew that?
Yeah.
I didn't actually know that.
So that's
I'm
why
going to shamelessly plug this now. I'm going to shamelessly plug this now. My article on the Sunday Times.
Talk about this, Ryan. Talk about this.
All right. So basically, a guy messaged Seagulls Social. You boys gave me a little ring, and I was like, "Oh, hello, what's going on? Can you do an article talking about your South African fame?" I was like, "Of course I can. Absolutely no worries."
None other than the Sunday Times in South Africa.
It's the real Sunday Times, and it was posted on the actual English Sunday Times, so it's not just the South African.
Oh, really?
It's posted on the
Oh, really?
Posted on the British one. It just says written by the guy's name. Sorry, I think it's Matthew.
I think it's Matthew. Yeah.
So it's written by Matthew. And it's on the English one. So if you go onto the Sunday Times Twitter page. I'll retweet the tweet again because I haven't actually retweeted it yet. Sorry, Matthew. But I will plug it. I just forgot. But yeah, no, basically, he rung me up on a Zoom call. We had a little chat. Really nice guy, top guy. Basically just asked me, who I am, what I do, blah, blah, blah. And then just said about the Percy Tau effect. And that's all on the article. I'm not going to just say what I've said because otherwise it's not really fair on Matthew who's written the article. But yeah, no, it's really good. And what were we saying again about it? What was the initial link to
the lion? Him being called
the lion. That was it. Yeah, and he said about that's what Percy Tau means. He said that Tau means lion. I said that's really interesting. So yeah, as we mentioned on the article, if you want to give it a little read, then
Did he ask you about the L word? Was that mentioned?
Yeah, he didn't say. He said that it means like a lot of different things, but he said that it can mean like earlobe and all that, and then it can mean a bit worse. But as I say, I didn't say. I'm not going to say the word anymore because it clearly means something quite bad. So yeah.
There you go. Yeah, no. So that's the round off our Percy CAM, and of course, hopefully he'll be more involved in the coming weeks. So yeah,
I think Blackpool's a good shout for him. Bit of pace against the lower league team. Give him a bit of experience.
Yeah, the Amex for the first time as well, wouldn't it? He hasn't played at the Amex yet. He hasn't played at home yet, has he?
Oh yeah, it's at the Amex.
For
some reason I thought it was away.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll get onto that. We'll get onto that at Blackpool. Just before we do that, we just got to quickly talk about the Brighton ins and outs, well, the potential ones and the confirmed ones. So let's just quickly start with O'Hara to MK Dons. He's gone on a permanent. So one of our young centre backs that potentially could have. But I think just
the
quickly on we got so much. We got so many centre backs. So I think he just probably was the sort of the worst in the pecking order. But he's still a quality player. But just because we got so much quality, he was sort of the bottom of that. So yeah, he's made a move, so we wish him all the luck. I didn't have the pleasure of watching him, unfortunately, but I heard really good things, so it'll be interesting to see what he does out at MK Dons.
And a positive for Warren O'Hara is that if you'd watched Leeds lose 3-0 to Crawley, one of our former centre backs, Tom Dallison, was playing there and had an absolute belter of a game. So
he did, yeah.
That's good hope for Warren O'Hara if he can really kick on and push on in League 1 or League 2 or whatever division MK Dons, because they're a bit of a yo-yo club. Whatever league they are in, if he can prove himself, then by all means he could be back in the Championship or
definitely
Premier League.
No, definitely. And then a potential another person going out is Bernardo to Salzburg. I think, Ryan, you said it's pretty much a done deal. Is that right?
I mean, it's pretty inevitable, isn't it, with Karbovnik recall. I can't see. The Karbovnik recall, I think it's got a bit of people excited, especially Ben with his Polish.
He loves it.
He's loving the Polish boys. But I think... good luck to Bernardo. He's going on loan. Hopefully he impresses and gets a good permanent move for him, because I can't see him getting in now. If Karbovnik does come back and looks the player that we think he can be, because apparently he's like Tariq but on the other side, who signed a new deal. So thank you, Tariq, because we love you, mate.
Tariq.
We absolutely love you. So if don't ever leave us, please. Can you
let's be real.
keep signing these 5-year deals? That'd be great.
Let's be realistic that we are good at it, and people do say that we're good at being realistic. Tariq signed that contract so that we don't get shafted.
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah. Let's be real. He's not signed that contract because he wants to stay with us for another 5 years or whatever. I can't remember. Is it a 5-year contract?
Yeah, 5
years.
Four. Let's be real. He's not signed it because he wants to be at our club for that long. Well, you never know. He might be
Depends
one of those
how we progress, in fairness.
Exactly.
I think Tariq Lamptey said it himself, even before he signed the deal. He said he was so grateful to Brighton because we literally gave him the platform to be a Premier League footballer. Like, if it wasn't for us, he might not even got a Premier League. He could have gone to a League 1 Championship club, because no one knew that he was going to be someone knew that he was going to be good, but no one knew that he was going to be that good. So he's exceeded all expectations of everyone. So I think it's a bit like Jamie Vardy with the Leicester thing. He said I don't know if you guys saw this, but he was asked,
that's great.
Would you leave Leicester, to go to a big club, and prove that you can do it higher in the Champions League? And he just said, Leicester were there for me when no one else wanted me, so why do I want to leave them?
That's class, yeah.
That's like Lamptey, really. I know we were here when he wasn't wanted by Chelsea. Well, he was wanted by Chelsea, but not for the first team. So You know, why would he want to leave
my,
us?
my,
at the
my,
moment?
own,
So
my
fair play
only
to him.
my only sort of rebuttal on that would be, I think Vardy was a very different stage of his career in terms of how much older he was. So obviously Lamptey's 19. Oh no, 20 now I think. So yeah,
20.
that's my only rebuttal. But no, definitely I agree. Like I could definitely see him staying here for longer. But like Ben said, I think it's definitely just to make sure we don't get shafted with the price. But
I think we'll hold on to him in the summer. I reckon we've got one more
season.
Yeah,
100%. I think definitely at least another year. If not, I think maybe 2. And then after that, he might look on to maybe other clubs, depending on how he's playing, I suppose.
I suppose if we get another year out of him and then we do improve, fingers crossed, say we stay up and do quite well next season, why wouldn't he want to stay? You know, if we can prove that we can actually,
that's a fair point.
We tucked our expected goals away, we would be good. We would be up there. You know, we're still 7th or whatever it is on the expected table. So like, we're not that bad. We need to remember that. Maybe I need to remember that because I can be quite negative on this podcast recently. So. But yeah, like we are actually okay. We're not that bad. We just need to start scoring some goals and stringing some consistencies together.
No, definitely. So yeah, and then obviously, of course, we've sort of touched on it a little bit. But Ben, one of your 2 favourite polls. One of them has been recalled, of course, Kabovnik. So yeah, how excited are you to see him play, and how do you think you see him fitting into the squad?
Well, it's interesting to be fair because I think we done a post on Twitter and we showed how versatile he was. He can play in a number of different positions. He plays left full back, like left wing back. Yeah, has done.
Because you got just sorry to interrupt you, Ben. Sorry to interrupt you, Ben. You got called out, didn't you, on social saying that he's a left back and not a midfielder. So you saying
no. Someone was saying this guy who supports Legia. He was like, oh, he plays centre mid for us, and I was like. Yeah, I was like, and then I said, well, I wouldn't be surprised if Potter, like, you don't know our manager, he'll play him wherever he wants to because that's what he does.
End up playing him right striker.
Yeah.
Right.
And honestly, the guy then responded in another post actually. I think when we actually signed him, he was saying he's probably not good enough to play centre midfield right now in the Premier League. For that matter, he probably will be a fullback cover. So, which is exactly what we need.
Yeah,
especially with Bernardo.
To be fair, I can't see him getting in. Look, we've got so many centre mids. We've got so many quality centre mids as well. I don't see him coming in for that unless we're like really thin. Say everyone gets injured magically, maybe then. But yeah, as you say, I think it's left wing back cover because we've only got March, then we've got Burn, who let's face it isn't very good there. So I think he is going to be that number 2 to March for now.
I wouldn't be surprised if Potter plays him on the right though, Ryan, because he's right-footed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, apparently I actually looked it up because of the whole right-footed thing. So I did a little bit of research on that because, everyone keeps saying, oh, but Karbovnik's right-footed. So I did a little bit of research. Apparently he's literally 2-footed. He's down as right, but he's literally just 2-footed. Like
I've heard that as well.
His left is literally no different to his right. He's
literally Cazorla on our hands.
Yeah, that is so handy. That would be really
definitely
helpful.
That's huge. Like to have that ability to be able to play with both feet is such a sort of I think a lot of people undervalue how important it is sometimes. Yeah. If you have got that ability, so for him to have that, that's great. And then finally on the ins and outs, Ali J looks like he's on his way out, and I think is it Ajax has been interested in him, Ryan? Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know, so I'm not going to speculate. But apparently that's what was on Andy Naylor's tweet this morning. I don't know any inside things on that, so I'm not going to say. But if he does go, it'd be sad to see because obviously he did a lot for me. So Ali, if you are watching this, Ali, thank you for everything. Obviously, definitely. We had a lot of conversations and stuff. First ever footballer to ever actually give me the light of day. So thank you very much, mate. And
definitely. And I think what we mentioned about Percy Tau in terms of attitude and being, I think that's one thing I really respect about Ali Reza is that he is one of those really hard-working individuals. You can always tell whenever he played on the pitch. He might have, like we said in previous pods, he might not be the best technical and skillful player in the Premier League by any stretch, but whenever he's on the pitch, he does give it his all, and he's shown glimpses. Against Chelsea, we'll never forget that goal against Chelsea he scored, the overhead kick, and I think he showed glimpses of what he could have done, but it never sort of landed for him. And I personally, as a fellow Iranian, it's a great shame to see him, leave the Premier League, and I think that's basically where he's going. But no, I think all credit to him. Whenever he's put on that Brighton shirt, he's really given it his all, and it just hasn't worked out for him, unfortunately. So yeah, it'll be a shame, but it is what it is, unfortunately. So then, moving on. Then there was one point we want to just quickly touch on is that Squawka did an article on the top 10 English managers, and Graham Potter, our very own Potterball, came up as number 1 one on that list above, Sam Allardyce, Dean Smith, all these other sort of British managers.
Over Allardyce is a bit of a no-brainer, though.
Oh, mate, yeah, obviously, yeah. He's a dinosaur. But Dean Smith is the big one for me. How he's been, praised at Villa to go over him. So obviously that's just Squawker's opinion. But it rustled a lot of feathers on social media. So do we think that's a fair assessment as him as number one British coach in the Premier League?
I don't think he's number one yet, but I think he's got to be up there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Dean Smith is the only one you could argue could be above him, in my opinion.
There's not a lot of competition.
No, you're right. And I think if anyone knows and understands football, if Graham Potter was at a big club with quality players, he would be really highly regarded, and I genuinely believe that. And I think Pep actually said it, didn't he?
Yeah, just about to say that.
After the game, after a 1-0, this wasn't even before trying to do the mind games thing that people were claiming. He said after the game that, Potter is the number one manager in England at the moment. And he said it takes a lot for a team to come and be expansive and also have the ability to shut up as well. So I hope, that Potter can be a number one in England, but at the same time, I don't want him to leave us. So no, don't.
But he also said he would like to play for Potter, though, didn't he? He said, if I was a player, Pep Guardiola said if I was a player, then I'd like to play for him. And Oh, Maz, you're on mute.
Yeah, Maz, you're muted, mate. You can't unmute it.
I'm having an absolute nightmare.
Yeah,
Sorry about that. I was having an absolute nightmare because for some reason my
screens... You've got to leave that in.
yeah. My screens were going mad then. So sorry about that. But just quickly then, for the benefit of the people that haven't seen the list, just quickly, I'll give a quick rundown of the top 10. So you've got Steve Bruce in 10th, Chris Wilder in 9th, Frank Lampard in 8th, Scott Parker 7th, Roy Hodgson 6th, Dean Smith 5th, Gareth Southgate 4th, Sean Dyche 3rd, Steven Gerrard 2nd, which is fair play, and Graham Potter number 1. Now, my only one, just quickly, would be Gareth Southgate at 4th. I don't know how he swindled that, because he's a shocking manager.
Some of that list is horrific as well.
That's what I'm saying. There's really not a lot of competition. It's nice that Potter's number one, but it's not like he's up against anyone decent.
No, exactly.
Well,
but, all right.
I say, anyone decent. Dean Smith is a great manager. I'll give him that. Sean Dyche, for what he does,
Sean Dyche is a great manager.
Yeah, for what he does, he's good at it.
For sure. And I'm just worried that we have been speaking quite a long time. I think we're getting up to nearly sort of an hour and a half mark. So just quickly then, to sort of round it all off, let's talk about Blackpool. So Blackpool, we're playing them in the FA Cup, of course, and we, again, they're a bit of an unknown. We went into the game against Newport. We didn't have basically a clue with them, but they're currently sitting in 14th. And their last few games, it hasn't been good for them. They've got 1 win in 5. So they're on a poor run of form. So really, boys, let's start with you, Ben. Should we be dispatching them, more comfortably than Newport, or do you think we're going to struggle again?
I wouldn't be surprised if we do struggle because, yes, we beat Leeds, but let's be honest, but we haven't really been too consistent this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go and struggle against Blackpool. Hopefully, playing at home and on a decent pitch for the first time. And I suppose we played in 2 awful pitches out of the last 3 games. Hopefully, that will have an effect and we'll actually be able to play well. They gave West Brom a good go and they actually qualified, which is fair play to them. I wouldn't be surprised if we do struggle, especially if we play a weakened team, which I'm assuming we will. But, we said that against Newport, didn't we? And we saw Basuma playing. We saw basically our first team playing. So, no,
but the thing is that they're a league above as well. So they're League One opposition. So it's like one step up from Newport in that sense. But, I mean... let's be real. In my opinion, I think the difference between League One and League Two isn't huge. So we're going to see sort of relatively the same kind of quality. But Ryan, have you got anything to add in terms of Blackpool and their proposition?
I'd be lying if I said I knew a lot about Blackpool. But to be fair, didn't they go and beat West Brom before? So they're capable of it. They used to be a great team back in the day. But yeah, you'd like to think we'd win. But then we say that we will have half a team out, but I don't think we will. I think we'll play a pretty decent squad. Who have we got after that? We've got someone midweek, haven't we?
Fulham Wednesday.
Yeah,
that's a massive game. That's the thing. It's a very big game. So And also, on the back of this week, though, Ryan, you must think that maybe he's going to be resting some people for it.
Yeah, you might be right.
It would be the smart.
But the thing is, on that, I was just about to say, on that, really, in my opinion, now I feel like anyone who comes in isn't really a weaker player because, like, for example, if we start proper, I could argue he's first team. And some people will argue he's our second team. So, for me now, I think we've got such strength in depth and, not compared to the big boys in the league, but for our level, I think we've got great squad depth. And I
must admit, this is a conversation I was having with my dad the other day. And I was just saying, like, we had 6 players out for Leeds or something ridiculous. We've had 3 games in that week and we're playing a team that, majority of those players that would have been second team at the beginning of the season. In particular, Alexis McAllister got there in the end. He would have been like the number one thing you'd think was like, second team. But he comes in and he puts in borderline man of the match performance. You've got these players, as you say, proper. They're all improving, and I think we've got genuinely a really good second team that is easily more than capable of beating Blackpool, to say the least.
100%. Also, fun fact about Blackpool. I heard it on TV the other day. The reason why they changed to an orange strip is because they're playing a football match, of course, and they had the referee had just come back from refereeing a Holland game, an international match, and said,
"Really?
Oh, that Dutch kit looks really nice in orange," and they just changed the kit because the referee said,
"Really? What were they before that then?"
That's so funny.
Oh, I didn't go that far back, but
didn't do that much research. Didn't do any research.
It wasn't research. It was just the TV. I just overheard the TV say it.
Fair play. I reckon you just searched into Google Blackpool. Yeah, just search Google. But just quickly, whilst Ryan searches that, just to sort of pick out a couple of their players that might be potential threats.
Medine, he was like a football league legend.
Yeah, Gary Medine. He scored.
Gary 4. Medine, yes.
Yeah, he scored 4 goals in 19. Yep, and
he scored against us for Bolton, was it?
Bolton? Yeah, Jerry Yates as well. Jerry Yates, I don't know if you heard him. He's the club's top goal scorer, so he could be a potential. And also CJ Hamilton in midfield. They're their sort of top goal scorers, so they could be their main threats going forward.
CJ Hamilton, that's a well-sick name.
Oh yeah, has he said anything? Any sort of like?
He's a big admirer of Graham Potter. I haven't spoken to him recently.
I mean, who isn't Ryan?
Yeah,
who isn't?
He studies all. He's training to be a football coach in the future, so he studies a lot of it, and that's why he likes Graham Potter so much. I think anyone who like studies football would like analytically would love Graham Potter because he's just filled with stats.
Definitely.
Yeah, he said that Blackpool. I haven't heard this season, but he said they're improving, so. It could be a bit of one to watch. You never know.
Yeah, definitely. And the final thing on Blackpool as well, they've got Luke Garbett, who I don't know if you guys remember, but he played for Everton. And if you remember the really famous, well, I say famous, it was a very viral sort of clip from Ancelotti when basically he got asked about Luke Garbett leaving, and he literally just went, "Who?"
Oh yeah.
He just went,
yeah.
And I was like, mate,
Yeah.
you're the manager of Everton, and he was one of your players until literally like a week before, and you didn't know who he was. I was just like, that's jokes. Like, it went viral because he literally looked at the camera and went, "Who?" I was like, oh no.
God,
like, Luke Garbett must have been sitting there like, "Cheers, lad." Like, what the hell? He's now at Blackpool. So he's made the from Premier League Everton to Blackpool, and he's playing at left back, and he was actually all right. He's another player to maybe look out for as well from the left back position as well.
I found out about the colours. So it says here the change to tangerine for 1923-24, so this is a long time ago, was not the club's first change because prior to then, Blackpool had played in blue and white stripes, so the same as us.
Oh, there you go.
Red and white and white shorts, red shirts and white shorts.
Ryan's malfunctioning.
They've had red shirts, white shorts, red shirts, white stripes.
You're just saying loads of colours. I feel like you're just throwing colours
at us. Hang on a minute, I'm narrowing it down. So they've had red and white stripes, they've had blue and white stripes, and they've had all red. So they've literally been all over the place. They've just basically
they've had an identity crisis. Let's be honest.
Yeah, they're a bit of a journeyman for club kids.
Yeah,
amazing. Well, yeah, look, it's going to be again another tough game. We said going into Newport, we said it was going to be tough, and even going into this game again, we know it's going to be tough playing lower league opposition because they're going to come into it like a cup final, aren't they? They're going to want to prove a point. They've already beaten West Brom, who are a Premier League side. They're going to exactly anything can happen on the day. It's a one-off game.
The magic of the FA Cup.
Exactly, Ryan. So no, definitely a game to watch out for. So we can't sort of count on it, bank on it straight away. So yeah. Anyway, look, we've rambled on for a good hour and a half, and we blame Josh Akers for that.
Josh, mate. Never coming back on again. That's a disgrace. Go back to Leeds.
we blame Josh Akers for banging on too much, but no, we really hope you enjoyed it. And of course, make sure you do like, comment, and subscribe, because it does really help with the push. As you can see from our latest
episode, 200 subscribers. So please subscribe.
please show some support. And we really do appreciate everyone's support. And of course, keep streaming it on Spotify and Apple as well. We're on all platforms. So if you can't watch it, please do stream it if you're listening as well. And she'll see you after the Blackpool game. And hopefully we don't get knocked out the FA Cup. The FA Cup dream can still be alive. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Peace.